One of the things I really didn't like about being a teacher is that I couldn't just trust the kids to go on the internet and look up things.
So, I went on TikTok to go look at that vegan teacher's posts because I hate her, and I couldn't find her TikTok, and then I went to YouTube to try and find her YouTube channel, but the first thing I saw was this. That vegan teacher is banned.
Okay guys, so a quick update on that vegan teacher, because everyone seems to be talking about her. She's still dumb, bye.
Guys, she's banned from TikTok. She's gone. Woohoo! Yeah!
When an animal rights activist like me, a middle-aged, gray-haired woman who's 56 and who is a school teacher and a nurse, gets shot down, this somehow brings you great joy, as if you're playing a video game. But this is real life. It's not a video game. There are actual victims. There are actual animals who are suffering right now in ways that you know nothing about. The parents are also scared. In our society right now, parents are mere children. They've never actually grown up. They're just an older version of their kids. I learned this now because after being on TikTok and watching the amount of duets that are going on there and realizing it's horrifying how uneducated the vast majority of the population is.
Diekmeyer posted a TikTok duetting Tommy showing off his 2 golden YouTube Play Button Awards, where she pulled out a cucumber and said, "Nice vegan girls don't want to play with your buttons, but if you want them to play with your buttons, you'll have to show them your fruits and your vegetables." Tommy is only 16 years old, and some online, including his fans, found that comment distasteful.
The problem with our school system is not that we are turning out people who can't read and write, who are not ready for the job market. The problem with our school system is that we haven't taught kids to think and to care.
The lack of positive support that vegan teacher has received from her fellow vegans is largely a sign of the literal and figurative exhaustion of the vegan movement as a whole. It is incomprehensible to me that somebody like Earthling Ed would try to make hay with his audience by criticizing and lambasting that vegan teacher rather than supporting her. It is incomprehensible to me that somebody like Unnatural Vegan would try to make her own star shine brighter by putting that vegan teacher in the shade. But that has been the greater part of the reaction of vegans to that vegan teacher. And what has she done, or what has she supposedly done wrong? She has been doing completely normal vegan activism and advocacy. Okay, like you got to have a sense of what's normal. Okay, and normal doesn't mean extraordinary, it doesn't mean brilliant, it doesn't mean genius, right? But it also doesn't mean something else at the opposite end of the spectrum there. It doesn't mean deplorable, it doesn't mean shocking, okay? For her to stand in front of a McDonald's with her ukulele and sing a song about how people should be vegan rather than eating the food at McDonald's, that is normal, okay? If that is not normal activism and advocacy, let me ask you, what is? Now, why is it that people like Earthling Ed and people like Unnatural Vegan and so many other vegans have responded to her so negatively? I think it's just because this is now the year 2021, and most of these people have been on this same merry-go-round for such a long time, and they're so worn down and so sick of it, and they don't admit it to themselves, and they don't admit it to their audience, right? And a lot of these people have never really thought through analytically what it is they're reacting to negatively here. Oh, it's another vegan who's positively inspired by Gary Yourofsky and telling people to see the Gary Yourofsky greatest speech ever. Oh, in 2021, haven't we already tried this? Haven't we already heard this before? Haven't we already been through this? Oh, it's another vegan who completely unironically uses slogans from Direct Action Everywhere. Someone who says with absolutely no hint of mockery or self-analysis or awareness of what's happened over the last 10 years, it's not food, it's violence. Someone who, with no irony and with no criticism, no two levels about it, is telling you what a wonderful thing Anonymous for the Voiceless is, also known as AV, all these different movements. And look, I would be overstating the case to say that these movements and these leaders and these examples, including Gary Yourofsky, I would be overstating my case to say that they have been discredited in veganism, right? From my perspective, they're discredited. My channel has engaged in 5 years of critique of what's been going on with leadership of the vegan movement, right? I think that it would be more fair to say that people have just run out of patience. This has just become familiar. They've become apprehensive. There's a generalized sense that something is wrong here. Something is wrong with the movement, even if they can't put their finger on what it is. There's a sense of unease and dissatisfaction, even for people who have only been involved with this movement for 5 years. And a lot of people have been involved for 15 years or 20 years. Let's just say 5 years now. You've been involved with the vegan movement. There's a sense of looking around and being like, what direction is this going in? Looking back and saying, what direction has this been going in? Whoa, what happened to the last 5 years of my life? And a lot of these people, they've never sat down and thought it through, right? But they went through exactly the phases and stages of enthusiasm that are still being propounded as if they're new today by that vegan teacher. And they're reaching a new audience. Some of our viewers are 8 years old. It's still new to a lot of people. Like, oh yeah, get enthusiastic. Go out and watch this documentary. Go watch Earthlings. She promotes that documentary. Go watch Earthlings. Go watch Dominion. Go watch Forza Over Knives. Get jazzed up. And then go through this sequence of familiar steps, whether it's Gary Yourofsky or Anonymous for the Voiceless or Direct Action Everywhere. Like, what you should do in the next 5 years is walk in the same footsteps that so many of us, so many older, experienced vegan activists, walked through in the last 5 years. You should walk down this same crooked path to nowhere and end up as disillusioned and disappointed and hopeless and directionless as we all are, right? Like, I don't think the critique and criticism of that vegan teacher has been legitimate or intelligent or well-intentioned. I don't at all. I have absolutely no sympathy for the way Earthling Ed has responded to her. I have no sympathy for the way Unnatural Vegan has responded to her. And a number of smaller YouTube channels have kind of sniped and griped at her. What she has done has been 100% normal vegan activism, right? But we've been coping with this for so many years. It's so overly familiar and tiresome to us that we've started to abnormalize it, right? We've started to perceive this as abnormal. We've all started to gain some sense of what is wrong with what we've been doing with the last 5 years in this movement. And yeah, in case this is your first time coming to my channel, I was in the minority within a minority of voices that already 5 years ago and 7 years ago was really actively criticizing what was wrong with the methods and the morals and the philosophy, the pragmatic direction veganism is taking, what we were actually doing as a movement, and also the theory behind it, okay? As a general rule, you don't get to choose your audience. You just get to choose what kind of content you create, and then you find out afterward who gravitates to it, who relates to it, who benefits from it, right? But to some extent, each of us, in choosing to make a particular type of content, we are predictably targeting or pursuing one type of audience, and we're closing the door against another. I used to say on this channel again and again, week after week, month after month, year after year, I am not interested in the stupidest 40% of my audience. I'm not catering to them. I'm not making content for them. I'm not going to break down and explain things for them, right? I am not pursuing a mass audience. I am not pursuing the stupidest 40% of the audience. And I can remember coming out and saying, you know what? Some days I feel like I just don't want to make content for the stupidest 80% of the audience. I'm going to target a really small minority of people who can relate to and appreciate this video I'm going to make about the philosophy of Aristotle, right? I'm going to make content that's kind of unapproachable. That's going to require a lot of independent research and thought for you to appreciate or understand what it is I'm doing, right? I'm actively alienating, I'm actively slamming the door on a large part of the audience. And that happened within veganism too, right? Do you have any idea how many vegans will always and forever bitterly hate this channel and will make up lies denouncing me, defaming me, slandering me, and telling people not to watch my channel just because of what I have to say about yoga and meditation? Things that are in principle totally unrelated to veganism. Oh no, he's a skeptic about yoga and meditation. Have you seen those videos he made talking about Buddhism and Buddhist meditation? Did you see those videos he made debunking claims that meditation has all these health benefits? Okay. Now, the number of people who valorize meditation, it's however many million in the United States and Europe, okay? Within veganism, it's a huge percentage of people. In terms of people who are vegan activists, people who roll heavy in the vegan movement, a huge percentage of those people have pseudo-spiritual and supernatural beliefs about meditation and yoga. And I'm slamming the door on them. I'm saying, guess what? You're in the stupidest 40% of the audience. I'm going to tell it to you straight. From my perspective, I have something really meaningful and important to say about meditation, the misinterpretation of it, people making money out of it. I'm not doing this in a cynical way, but I'm aware, hey, a small percentage of the potential audience for my channel is even going to be willing to listen to what I have to say about meditation. A large percentage is going to hate me for it, and I can predict what the effects are within this demi-monde, within this subcategory of the vegan movement. Right? So when you look at someone like that vegan teacher, you have to appreciate she was doing the opposite, right? She was consciously and intentionally opening the door to the stupidest people in the world. She was actively courting and pursuing an audience of children, and not highly intellectual children at their best who are coming on to get advice on how to get an A+ on their science exam. There are some channels doing that kind of content. There are, not appealing to the best aspects of the children's nature or the parents' nature, right? Pandering to the lowest common denominator to reach an audience of millions, right? And in that, she succeeded. But at what price? At the price of her personal integrity, at the cost of becoming, both in public perception and in actual fact, a despicable clown. I'll say again, on the internet, with broadcasting, with being an author, whether you create content on social media or you publish books, you do not choose whether you will be loved or hated. You choose whether you will be known or unknown. And what I have in common with that vegan teacher is that we both committed to take this reckless and in some ways self-destructive path of saying, I'm going to come on camera even if it ruins my life, okay? I am going to take that step. I am going to be known. And then I'm going to deal with the consequences, whatever they may be. Why is it that the vegan teacher in her 50s sees nothing wrong with the activism that teenagers are engaged in? Why is there no critique, right? Why is it that she sees nothing wrong with what Direct Action Everywhere is doing, with what Anonymous for the Voiceless is doing, with what Gary Yourofsky is doing. All these overly familiar methods and theories and philosophies from even just the last 5 years of veganism, let alone the last 50 years of failure. Shouldn't she know better? Shouldn't she have decades of experience and insight, even beyond mine, into what has gone wrong with the vegan movement over the last 20 years, 50 years, you name it? Shouldn't she be not just an advocate for veganism, but also an incisive critic of everything that advocacy has failed to accomplish in the last 5 years, showing us not just what we ought to do, but how to do it better than our antecedents, how to do it better than ever before. And part of that process inevitably is going to involve criticism and self-criticism within the vegan movement.
Maybe we can practice